Bushcraft 412, and I want to do a quick frequently asked question on the Mossberg 500. This gun is probably one of the most, I get more questions on this gun than any other gun, and for good reason. The Mossberg 500 is an amazing pump action shotgun platform, and it's been around for, 40 years, if not longer, and I get a lot of questions. I just kind of want to go over some of them so I can kind of point people to this video as I get questions on the platform. Pretty much the first and probably the most common question I get is, as you can see, this is a field model Mossberg 500. A lot of people ask, can you convert this to a tactical version? And the answer is yes. It's actually very easy. There's just one nut that holds the stock on. You can take the forearm off with disassembly, and I do have a video on disassembly. So that comes up, both of them come off very easy and can be replaced. And there are interchangeable barrels. The Mossberg 500, you can buy, all different kinds of barrels for this gun, and the prices range on them from like $80 to $150. But I know the shorter tactical barrels run about like $80 to $100. So you can update and turn your Mossberg 500 field into a tactical for, I'd say $120 to $150. You can make a complete changeover if you do some nice bargain shopping. Which goes on to probably the second most asked question, is about this forearm. Now, the forearms have undergone a little bit of change, and there's a couple different style forearms. And it causes a bit of a problem when it comes to people trying to upgrade their guns. From my understanding of my research, the field model with the wood stock comes with the action tube assembly, and the action tube assembly is shorter than the tactical versions. So if you go into a store and you buy these wood furnitures, if you take it apart, you'll see the action tube is like 6 3/4 inches. The tactical ones are over 7 inches long. And if you go online and try and buy a replacement forearm to replace the wood, it's not going to fit. You actually have to replace and put in the longer action tube, which is can be like a $30 or $40 upgrade. For whatever reason, they don't make any synthetic tactical forearms for the shorter action tube, and that really stinks. Now, to take that action tube apart, all you need is I'm blanking here. Okay, the choke wrench for the Accu choke. You basically just put that in the end and turn it, and there's a castle nut on the end, and then it'll let you take the wood furniture off. So it does kind of stink. If you have the field version and you want to upgrade to a tactical synthetic forearm, you do have to replace out the action tube, about $30. There are some that come together as a kit. I've seen them on Amazon where you can get the action tube and new forearm together as a kit, and I think they're in the neighborhood of like $60, $70. Kind of expensive. So if you are buying a Mossberg 500 and it does have the wood furniture, keep that in mind, that you do have the shorter action tube, and it's going to cost you money to swap that out. Now, another question I do get is that yes, some of the parts of this are interchangeable with the Maverick 88. The Maverick 88 uses the 500 receiver, but they've just replaced out some of the parts with cheap Mexican made parts to cut down on the cost. So there are interchangeable parts. I don't know exactly which ones are interchangeable, so I'm not going to put it into this video. So sorry about that, guys. One of the other more common questions I get is about the sling attachment. Now, mine came with a sling attachment in the stock, and I believe even the synthetic models come with this swivel stud in there. Now, people always say, well, where's the other swivel stud? Because it doesn't come installed on the guns. The actual extra swivel stud is up here on the magazine tube end. Now, you have two, well, when you get this gun, this nut here, we're going to take this out to show you, is usually in a piece of paper. in the bottom of your gun box. So what happens is you buy this gun, and like me, this piece of paper with this little nut in it got thrown away, or whatever happened to it is gone. So of course I'm trying to find a way to put a shot or put a sling on this thing, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, but if you look, Mossberg 500s, the cap on the magazine tube is drilled and tapped just for. Oops, I dropped the. Hang on, guys. Just for this nut. So when you buy that Mossberg 500, look in the bottom of that box and make sure you have that and that you install that in. Otherwise, if you're like me and throw it away, I had to spend like $10 to get a replacement one of these, and that kind of sucked. But if you don't want to do that, there are other ways to mount a sling. There are barrel clamps that have this, and it comes out the side kind of like that, so you can mount it off to the side. Those barrel clamps are like $10. You can get them at like Amazon or eBay or whatever. They're not the best quality, but they are okay. I will not use them because I worry about them scuffing up or maybe crimping the magazine tube a little bit, so I don't bother with that. Another frequently asked question is the trigger. And if you watch my disassembly video, you'll see that the trigger comes out as one group. It's not a trigger you can work on and kind of home remedy to make it a better trigger. It is a group. It's all kind of inclusive. It's nothing I would mess with. There is no easy fix to make that a better trigger. So that's another question I've gotten on occasion. Another question I've gotten is about the porting, and thanks actually to a lot of my subscribers for pointing this out. The porting at the end of the barrel is to help with recoil. I mean, I'm not sure how effective it is, but those holes are there and they are functional. They're not meant to be decorative, so they are meant to help as a to reduce that recoil. And you'll notice they're only on the top, so basically it ports the gases out to the top, which helps stop that gun from kicking upwards. Some of the Mossberg 500 barrels have that porting, others do not. Both of my barrels have it, so I can't compare between the ones that do and ones that don't as for how effective it is. Another question I get a lot is, do I recommend this gun? And yes, I actually recommend the Mossberg 500 a lot. I recommend the Mossberg 500 and the Remington 870. I think those are the two best shotguns on the market, and that's because they're a modular system. Both of them are systems where you can replace out, they have interchangeable parts. You can replace out the parts, you can change the barrels. The interchangeable barrels on this, you change them in literally 10 seconds. It's a great system if you need versatility. This one here is a field version, and like I said, I can convert this out to a tactical model in 10 or 15 minutes with $150. Shorter barrels are available, longer magazine tubes. You can buy all different parts and replacements for this, and it makes it a great system. The Remington 870 is the same, just tons of interchangeable parts, and both of them are great, reliable shotguns that are part of a nice system with just great interchangeable parts, and it's really clever of Mossberg and Remington to do that. Here's another frequently asked question I get, and I think this is the last one we're going to cover in this video. Is I get a lot of people who say, okay, I bought my shotgun and I'm having problems with it. What's the matter with my gun? Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I run into this question a lot with firearms people who are having problems, and I can't solve the problems of everybody's gun because I just can't see them, and I'm not a gunsmith. But I'll tell you what, the best advice I always give to everybody is, when you clean your gun, some people just clean the barrel. They clean the barrel and then they take a cloth and they wipe in the receiver as best they can, and that's all they do. I'm a firm believer that you really need to field strip your guns once a year, every 6 months, depending on your environment. That whether it's you live in a dirty environment or a dry, sandy environment. I really believe you need to field strip your guns every 6 months to a year and completely clean everything from the ground up. And that solves a lot of your problems. A lot of the problems people have with extracting on these is they get dirt and grime in the cartridge interrupter and the extractor and they stop working. You know, take care of your guns. Learn how to disassemble them and fully clean them. Don't just clean your barrel. There's a lot going on inside there. And if that gets gummed up, it's going to affect how the gun works. I do have a video up on how to field strip this gun. And there's other videos out there showing how to field strip them. When you have problems, field strip the gun completely. Clean it, lube it. Look at all the parts. Do the parts look right? Does anything look bent? Does anything look funny? Look at all the parts and see, because you may be able to find the problem just by field stripping the gun. On the other hand, if it is dirt or grime or lube, or it's like not lubed enough, because pump shotguns do need lubrication, you can remedy that with a good field strip. So before you start asking questions, do a good field strip, check everything out, make sure, especially the cartridge interrupter and the shell extractor, they're the pieces in on the sides that kind of extract the bullet when you pump. Make sure they're in place. They are a moving part. Maybe they could fall out, maybe they could get bent. Look at them. Do they look right? Do they look bent? Is anything out of place? Because a lot of the parts in here just snap in place. They're not screwed in. You just snap them into little holes in the receiver. So check and make sure everything's in its right holes, nothing's come dislodged. Because 90% of the time, it's not that your gun is a piece of shit, it's that you haven't been taking care of it. And that will solve 90% of the problems. And I think the other problems usually tend to be is people who are a little rough on the guns and maybe bend the arms on the slide, or they force it and they kind of knock the extractor out of its spot or something like that. But for the most part, this is a really simple design and there's not much that can go wrong with it. So when you do start having problems, field strip and clean, then check for functionality, and if you're still having that problem, start looking at the parts and see what you got to fix. This is a gun. You can fix every part of this by yourself if you spend the time to get to know the gun and know the parts and how it works. When you disassemble it, you can see how every little piece in here works. Really neat gun, very simple. And if you go in and you find a piece that's bent or broken or something wrong, it's real easy to replace. You can go online and you can buy a whole new trigger assembly. You can buy a whole new bolt carrier group. You can replace out the individual parts online. Very easy, and they're very easy to swap in and out with no gunsmithing. So there you go, some frequently asked questions on the Mossberg 500. I hope you guys have enjoyed. This is Bushcraft 412.